Hey everyone, welcome to a very special episode of That's a Wrap. What are we talking about? Because it's serious and in pure 80s fashion,
It's like an after school special. Like today we're talking about drug addiction. Yeah.
or on very special episodes of Different Strokes. So you know something.
Yep, yep,
Child,
yep.
you knew that something uncomfortable was about to go down.
Yes.
Anyway,
That's a good way to say it because I was gonna say something else and then it's just like, and then shut up.
uncomfortable.
Something uncomfortable was going to happen.
Comfortable. And
Yeah.
nine times out of ten, it was either abuse or sexual.
Yep.
So
Yep.
in the 80s, they needed to give you like a precursor trigger warning
Yeah.
before there were trigger warnings. Okay, what are we talking about? We are talking about Sinners. This movie is so much, to say the least, in the most wonderful of ways. So I've seen it twice, and I thought that was like, oh, I've seen it twice, right? Then I see people are just like, oh no, I've already seen it three times, and I'm thinking about going to fourth, and I was like, oh my God, that's like at Black Panther levels, right? You and I saw Black Panther what, two, three times in one week?
Oh yeah. We traveled
Yeah,
different cities
we
to
did
yeah.
to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think a
yeah.
total Black Panther, I saw Black Panther 1 in movie theaters 7 times, 6 or 7
I
times. Yeah.
hit, yeah, I think I was either four or five.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, all right, girl, just wait until it comes out on Disney Plus or it comes out somewhere where you could just, you could see it at home. But I
Yeah.
wanted to give them all my money and I'm glad I did. All right, Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler. Mm. And that I believe told us already that it was going to be something worth our time, right? He just doesn't put out any BS.
Well, I think so for me, right? I
Yeah.
think like a month before it came out, I was scrolling through IG
Hmm.
and I saw this little clip that talked about Coogler and Jordan coming together
Hmm.
for a horror film, right?
Yeah.
I knew you didn't even have to tell me what
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
because they got receipts
Hmm.
and everything else that they've worked on was magical to me as
Right.
far as a director, producer, writer.
From that lens, right?
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nothing. And just the synergy between those two,
Hmm.
I knew I was going to give them my money. I knew it.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember seeing the trailer a few months ago,
Hmm.
and it didn't give you a lot,
Yeah.
but it gave you just enough.
Oh, okay.
And I was just like, oh, snap, we got vampires?
Yeah. I didn't
That's
even
it.
know. I
Yeah.
didn't know anything about it until I think I just knew it was horror. And I knew that I was going to
Hmm.
see it the week of, they were just like, oh, vampires. Oh my gosh. And then it's just like, okay, sold. Like Blade.
Yeah.
Why wasn't Coogler tapped to direct Blade? Huh?
Which I think is now off the table.
Oh
I
yeah.
think they've
Blade is
decided that they're not
Blade
going to
is
move
is
forward with
is
it.
cut.
Let's start off with talking about the twins. They may be cousins, but we all know they twins. Smoke and Stack, and how Michael J portrayed these two, in my opinion, very distinct brothers.
I agree. It's to the point where you think that they're two separate actors playing it.
Hmm.
You literally forget that it's Michael B. Jordan playing two characters.
Yeah.
The intentionality, the nuances of the characters, the cinematography, like everything. it's almost like Malcolm X. Like in the beginning, you're just like, oh, Denzel's playing Malcolm X. And then you're just like, oh, so Denzel's playing Red. And then you're just like,
That's
that's
Red.
Red.
That's Malcolm.
That's just
Yeah,
Malcolm,
that's just
right? Like you
Malcolm.
lose. And I
Yeah,
lost all sense that that was Michael B. Jordan. I really felt that I was just looking at two separate characters on the screen.
yeah. How they interacted, like and I know there was like twin consultants on the set to kind of give him an idea of how to play twins, because not just twins, but identical twins,
Hmm.
because there is a difference the way identical twins move versus fraternal twins, right? And these two identical twins, he said, really gave him kind of like the inside scoop, which helped in how he portrayed Smoke and Stack.
Yeah.
And I fully agree with you. These were two very distinct people.
Yeah.
And how about it took me until the second viewing to realize, oh, red and
Yeah.
blue, right? Like I saw it,
Right.
but it just didn't click
Yeah.
how easy it was for me to know, oh, that's Stack,
Yeah.
even without the hats, right? Or that smoke. Like
Mhm.
you, even to me, it was the way he played these characters and
Yeah.
the things I noticed second time. Because the first time I was so in it to where God could have popped in and I may have missed it because I was just like the emotions and everything was happening. I'm looking at it, I'm taking it in, but I was just missing all kinds of things. So the second time really did help me like, oh, okay, now I can kind of take a step back and really see it and catch a bunch of things that I missed. But these two, how I identified with Smoke almost instantly. His how reserved he was, right? Always serious,
Mhm.
always focused. And Stack was thus like he was also focused, but
Yeah, but he was more
he was,
jovial. He was more
yeah,
jovial. Yeah, he was
he smiled.
lighter.
You saw one of the brothers smiling. That's who you know. You knew instantly that that was Stack,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I just remember hearing someone say, Smoke. So Smoke was the older brother. Smoke was always looking out for his brother. So
Yeah.
it's almost like he had to be
He was the
serious.
protector. He was the
He was
protector, right?
absolutely the
And especially
protector.
coming from a violent childhood, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah,
had to protect everybody.
yeah.
And I think that that's not only is that his twin, right?
Hmm.
But he didn't feel like he protected him when Stack transitioned into a vampire
Hmm.
and didn't want to kill him because he couldn't. He couldn't,
Mm-mm.
right? That was like literally tearing him apart. I think that that tore him apart almost as much as it tore him to finish Annie off.
Yeah,
If Annie did not tell him, you have to promise me. If she didn't say that, she
yeah.
would have been a vampire because he wouldn't have been
Yes, he
able to
couldn't do
do
it.
it.
He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it.
And
Um.
I felt that that was such a huge thing in their relationship, right?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
in order for him to do anything, he needed that permission,
Yeah,
right? I need
yeah.
permission to love you. I need permission to protect you. Like you need to tell me.
Me.
I'm going to be here. I'm going to do whatever it is, but you have to give me
Mm.
permission. So,
Their love is what had me balling through first viewing and the second. Even though I tried to hold it in the second time, I was like, come on, girl, you ain't got to let it go. Needless to say, I was like, I had to stop myself from even doing the ugly cry. But you are absolutely right. Their love, like the love the brothers had for each other was amazing. And that's why that bond, the way he talks, like having to be his Stack's protector, right? There's no way, as the elder brother,
mhm.
that he could end him. He already saw him die once
Yeah.
and he came back.
Yeah.
Not the same, but he came back. He's like, he's still breathing or he's moving about this earth. I can't go through that again. But the way he honors Annie, and you knew it killed him. And I really also knew he knew that his life was over after that.
Oh, well,
Even knowing that his brother was still out there,
I
I
felt like
really
he
think
was,
it was Annie that was keeping that her being gone, there was nothing left for him.
I
That's
don't
how
know.
I that's
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
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 And we're gonna say things that we kind of
Yes.
like disagree, right? And
Yep.
this is
Yep.
the amazing thing about art, right? And differences of
Hmm.
opinions does not mean that one is right and one is wrong.
Facts.
Um, it's
Facts.
it's what Ryan, the writer, was
Mhm.
deciding upon. And since brother's not here, we're just like saying, okay, so
And
this,
we're going to
yeah,
and
this is
we
what
all
I
going
see.
to interpret it the way we do. And he
Exactly.
that's what art is.
That's what
So
art is.
yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, for me, Smoke wanted to be gone a long time before
Mhm. You
that.
know what? Yes. Yeah.
So I think that he did not want to be in this realm any longer. And
Mm.
that's not, saying, g good or bad, but I just felt that
Mhm.
he had so much pain. He was just
Mm.
tired, right?
Yeah.
Tired. Especially the part when he was telling Sammy to go find that nice black community, put down the guitar,
Mm.
and just go find a woman and go work at the post office. That's not what he said. He said,
Right.
go share crop, go get your quota,
Yes.
put down these dreams because he had been beaten and he felt that he was saving Sammy.
Yes.
Although
Yes.
telling Sammy to put down his guitar was literally killing him.
Yes.
He just wanted him to be safe.
Right. Because of his history of seeing he says something about musicians and
Yeah,
none of them are happy
because
that
they're all drinking. I mean,
they're all yes.
look at
Delta Slim.
Delta Slim, right?
Yeah.
But can we talk about really the reason why a lot of them were drinking and drugging is because of the trauma that they saw and that they endured. And for
Every
2
day.
seconds, if
Yep.
they're drinking alcohol, they're forgetting. You, people are looking at the drunkard. Look at that.
Yes.
Look past that. That's
Yeah.
hurt. I mean, in the car when Delta Slim was talking about that incident, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That man teleported back to that. And the
Let's talk
only
about that
thing,
scene, girl. Let's talk about that scene.
so I think that scene in the car was very pivotal. It was pivotal for Sammy. Number one, Sammy's around free, carefree black men that aren't don't care about meeting their sharecropping quota, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, he's around two, right?
Yeah.
However you want to look at it, they have time freedom. They do
Mm-hmm.
what they want when they want and how they want, right? Within
Yep.
the confines of a very brutally violent, racist society. So he's taking a backseat and hearing these stories. And feel free to jump in. But
No, go
the
ahead.
reason why it was so intense for me was the violence of it all was three black men telling stories
Mm-hmm.
and knowing we all know as black people what happened to that black man. But Ryan did not have to show violence on a black body. And you don't need to when you got Delroy Lindo as the actor delivering that monologue.
Mm. And you and I talked about it because we were just like, and that's why that scene is so powerful, is because the way Ryan showed it to us. We're hearing the story, but as he's speaking, we're also hearing the sounds
Yeah.
of that story,
Using all the senses.
all the senses,
Yeah.
right? We didn't need to see that black man being lynched because we heard his cries.
We heard the cries and we could imagine that was going down.
You
And
heard his cry, the terror,
yep,
all of it,
yep,
the terror
yep.
that was inflicted upon Black people
Hmm.
every day, almost all day, right? Another reason why I thought that scene was very pivotal was I watched an interview with Delroy Lindo, and he talked about how um, Ryan was going to cut that scene out. And he goes, I had to go to him and tell him and talk to him about why he needs to stay.
Hmm.
So that was amazing. But the part of that scene that stays with me is as Delta Slim is telling that story, and then he finishes telling that story, and the only way he can release the pain of that story is to slam his hands against that car and start
Yep.
humming a beat
Hmm.
that then Sammy takes in,
Yep. Because
and
that's
then
the
you
mood.
hear that song
Yep.
later on in the juke.
Yeah. And then also about that, you got three black men in a vehicle. A vehicle not only represents like, movement, it represents freedom because
Freedom
you can get in there and drive
and move.
wherever.
Yep.
You can get away, you can go to like that whole, and just that it was shot, you had your wide shot, right? So you could see all three of them in the car. You could see the land.
Hmm.
You could
The
see
vast
the sun.
cornfield.
You could
Yep.
see the sun, right? And they're in a car
Hmm.
with the top
In
down.
in 1932, Mississippi.
Yeah. How beautiful. He
Mm,
wove that story in one freaking scene.
yeah,
It was,
yeah.
it was absolutely, I mean, it just like reminds me, like when I grew up in Florida, we lived in Florida. The Klan was terrorizing.
Hmm.
And just the way when you knew as a child, I didn't know what was going on. I felt like Sammy in the backseat of that car,
Mm,
listening to the adults talking,
mm,
right?
hmm.
And knowing they knew that I was there and they were letting us listen, but I knew something else was afoot, right? And that's what Sammy was listening,
Yeah.
was quiet, he was taking it all in, but he knew when he could add to it. And he could add to that when Delta Slim started.
Hmm.
And he's just like, okay, so this is me helping this brother.
Yeah. Speaking of Sammy, he had the protection of the church,
Yep.
right? That was the safe space that everybody went to, um, just for peace. And and I understood why his father was like, I'm trying to keep you alive, right?
Yep.
Stay
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
And his father and Smoke were saying the same thing,
Completely.
right?
Completely.
Stay
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Don't go out there. Don't try anything out there. This is the safest you're going to be.
Yeah.
Just swallow it
Yeah. Yeah.
and hope that maybe your children will be able to step out a little bit further, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so for me to understand that Smoke and his daddy are saying the same thing to him,
Mhm.
and he is saying that's not who I am.
Right. which was a brave thing for any black man to say, because you're talking about a time they're sharecropping. I forget what year that was. Was it 1930 or 1920s?
1932?
Okay.
It definitely
Yeah,
was the 30s. I know early
1932,
30s.
1932,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So, this is Jim Crow, right? So they're probably
The heart.
one, two generation after their uh
Enslavement.
enslavement, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so you still had that frame.
Yes.
They still had that frame of mind to just
Hmm.
get in the field, do what you're doing, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and be kind to white people, and maybe you'll get a chance, right? And
Ciao.
Sammy said, I saw people die today. I
Hmm.
was literally baptized by a vampire, and I'm going to Chicago.
Yeah.
And it was in
I
the
almost want to.
car. He drove in the car. Like, how pivotal is that?
Yes. That very car where
Yes,
he felt free
yes.
is the very car that was taking him to freedom,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know? Um, let's talk about the ladies because
Ladies.
hey ladies, Annie and Mary and Grace.
Oh yeah. Grace was my girl.
So let's talk
I liked Grace.
I liked Grace too until Grace said F all y'all to me.
But that was done out of like literally
I
like
get it.
panic and fear. Like the only thing that she thought that she could do to reach her daughter
Hmm.
to stop them from killing her and eating her was to placate to the vampires, which we all know that the vampires stand, well, to me, the
Hmm.
vampires were a metaphor for this crazy capitalist society. And if I could just talk to them and let them know, like, you don't have to fear me. I don't care what you do, then I'll stay alive. When all the black people are just like, we've been here before. It ain't gonna happen. It's not going to turn out the way you think it's going to turn out.
Yeah.
And they had to shake her down.
I think yeah, I think Bo and Grease represented the line in the road, right? They represented the road. Bo to me was on the black side. Bo is cool with the brothers. Bo was
100%.
down with the brothers, right? And he was there. He was family.
Uh-huh.
And so was Grace. Grace to me was family by just being
By
with Bo,
proxy.
right?
Yeah,
By
by proxy.
proxy.
Yeah.
I feel that Grace was very comfortable on the other side of the street. She didn't want to have to come to, when her daughter comes and says, Daddy wants you, she didn't seem to like want to go over there. She wasn't like, hey, oh my God, Stack. I'm Smoke. Hey, how are you?
Yeah.
Um,
But
I
I
didn't
mean,
get that feeling, right? It was more transactional for Grace.
I don't, I think Smoke number one is very transactional. Like, Smoke is,
Right.
now Stack is the one that you could be like, yo, what's up?
Hmm.
What's up? What's up? Smoke is the one you just like, hey, how you doing, bro? Okay, yep, I got you. Right?
I mean, he hugged Bo, right? They shared that. And that's why I think Bo was very he was down with it, whereas Grace was just like, I'm married, that's my boo. I felt that she was very much comfortable on the white side.
Yeah. But I wanted to ask you,
Hmm.
what other women besides Annie did um did Smoke hug? Did you see
He
him
did
be kind
no,
to anybody?
no, no. Annie was the only person that female anyway, right? Bo was that, but Annie was the only person that he was close to outside of his brother, truly. But just getting back to Grace, the whole thing with her, to me, selling out everybody because her child, like I believe any mother,
Yeah, I was going to say because Jackson trumps you, trumps
right?
your mama.
Everybody, right? And I get it. All
from
he
the
had to
reason.
just do was just say Amy's name. And I think that was, he knew that she was, to me, he knew she was the weak link
Yeah,
because nobody else in there had kids, right?
right.
She's the only one who's got somebody on the outside
A hundred
that is
percent.
a weakness, right? So just threatening her with that, I understand. But at the same time, it didn't even feel like she was even trying to run and get to her baby. Them vampires came in, she went right for her man, and they just she staked him and they burned to death together. So
Yeah.
Amy's still out there by her damn self running two stores, which I feel Amy could do easily. I felt like Amy did not need her parents at all.
I felt like she was a very capable,
Hmm.
very strong young girl. Just her presence on the screen, you know.
Hmm.
I mean, I think that we still have to look at the time, um, and the roles, right? Because we're in
Hmm.
2025, and we tend to forget that women at that time, if you were moving and shaking, you needed a husband. Like you were literally
Yeah,
defined. She's
yeah.
Asian, and they're defined by that male female family, right? I
Yeah, the
guarantee you,
roles.
Bo and
Yeah.
those guys probably fought in the war together because the way that
Hmm.
they interacted with each other. So you have all of those dynamics,
Yeah.
and then on top of it, something that they've never ever like seen before, vampires are coming.
I mean, other
And
than the Choctaw,
and
nobody saw that coming.
her husband,
Yeah.
one of
Yeah.
them, right?
No, in that was a moment of solidarity, a moment where we work together to live and keep them out until sun up, right?
Mhm.
But it was just like she just was like, F all that.
Yeah,
We all gonna die. If that means I'm saving Amy, I'm taking everybody with me, right?
right, right.
And I was like, I know that that's how the story was written. And I appreciate that because I think in real world,
100%.
you
There's
don't
going
know
to
how you're
be,
going to react in a situation
and always there's going to be
until
somebody
you're in that
that's scared her.
situation.
Yeah, and there's going to be somebody that's always scared her and
Yeah,
more fearful. And it's the
yeah.
reason why Harriet Tubman said, that's why I couldn't take everybody, right? Because not everybody's going to go to the promised land. Not
No,
everybody was going to make it when the sun came up.
yeah. And Grace was like, we ain't gonna make it, but if it means, if it means saving
But
Amy,
at least I know that you
yeah,
are not
yeah,
roaming this earth and
yeah,
terrorizing, right? So
yeah,
in
yeah.
retrospect, she did everybody a solid. When you take him out, she took her husband out. I mean,
She did. She did.
yeah,
They
she
were,
did
yeah,
everybody
but
a
they were
solid.
50, 11 other vampires coming in
But
all at the same
yeah,
time. But for her, but that's what I mean. It was there was a single mindset for her, right?
yeah,
She didn't care about anybody else in that room. She didn't care about what family they may have. She didn't ask if Perlene had kids. She didn't care, right? It was just this single-mindedness, and it just pissed me off. Um, because I was just like, solidarity, sis, solidarity. But I get it. I get it. Can we just talk about Annie and Mary because Annie's hoodoo, the fact that she was his protector, he didn't have nobody protecting him
mhm,
other than maybe his brother, but he always knew that he was his brother's protector.
yeah. But it's Annie's on a different level, right?
And
And
he's on a different realm.
yeah, she's in a different realm,
Yeah,
um, and she was protecting him from that realm out, right?
yeah,
I think one of the things that I really loved is how true to form things were in there. They had
Mm,
actual Choctaw. They had a hoodoo expert.
consultant. Hmm.
Yeah, but
Hmm.
and someone that knows and practices and knows all of that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it did not come from a place of white supremacy. It was honest, it was beautiful, right? I just loved how he made sure that he honored all of it,
Hmm.
like honored the time, what they
Hmm.
did, how they spoke, where the kids,
Hmm.
how they did their hair at that time, like everything. And everything
Yeah.
about Annie was honest, which
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for.
I'm thankful that they went with Mumi Masaku because this is not your typical love interest, especially for a main character played by Michael B. Jordan. She's just not when you watch film and even television, but mainly film, a dark-skinned black woman, like heavier, thicker, womanly, and she's the love interest
Yeah.
of the protagonist. You just don't see that often, especially in a genre like this where it's not about the violence,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
um it is really about the love and that time that they spend together at Annie's home. That's when I feel like I absolutely fell in love with the two of them.
In the store?
And what
In that store?
Yeah. And
Okay.
yeah, I don't know if it was her home or if it was just a store.
I thought it was
um
a store, but yeah, yeah.
it was just so beautiful to see because she was the calm, she was the truth. He talked some ish, he said some stuff and it's about power and blah blah blah, and she's just like,
Yeah, because I don't know if she was even, I guess for him, because he is a tornado,
mm-hmm,
but I don't see her as a calm. I just see her like you say, like the truth, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And the truth isn't always calm because she would tell him,
mm-hmm.
like, yo, shut
Right,
up,
right.
right? That's why it was calming
Yes,
because
she's like a balm for him. Yeah.
she stood in his face and did not believe the hype that he was this mean, because that's what
Yeah.
he wanted everybody to believe.
Yes.
He wanted
Yes.
everybody to believe that he was this mean when he was not.
No, he was soft
He was loving,
for
he was
her.
kind.
Yes.
But
He
because
showed
of the
his,
world
yeah,
in which he lived in,
yeah,
that's how he had to be in order
yeah.
to know that when I lay my head at night, I'm going to wake up in the morning.
Yes.
And so that's why I say I don't necessarily think that she was the calming force.
Hmm.
She just had the audacity to say to him, nah, bruh, nah, come on now. Oh, that's how you
Yeah.
want? Come on, come on. You just playing into their hands. And then
Yeah.
that gave him something to think about because everybody would just kowtow to him like, smoke,
Yes. He was
smoke.
someone to fear because that's how he had to move in the world, right? He had to be feared
Or he thought that he had, yeah,
because that's
I
the
mean,
only way.
that was
Yes.
the only way, right? We're,
This man went to war. He survived his own father,
yeah,
right? The
the
abuse. It's like to
abuse,
be abused severely at home, and then to be a black man stepping outside into a world that is ready to kill you,
right,
even
right,
as a child,
right,
right? So
right.
you're in a constant state of this
Yeah, yeah.
all the time.
Like
So that's why
you get no rest, right?
yes, yeah,
And I say that, he was kind because he allowed his brother the
hmm,
freedom
yeah,
to be kind and
yeah,
jovial and lighthearted. Like,
yeah,
so for me, I think, I'm like Annie, I gravitate toward Smoke, you know,
Yes.
um, because past all of that smoke and mirrors that he had, you knew that that brother would die for
His
you.
heart.
There's
Yes.
no
Yes.
die for you. He wanted more for Annie, and Annie was happy where she was, right? Because you saw like another part of the authenticity of the era. There was the money was different, right?
Mm-hmm.
In different
Mm-hmm.
parts.
Yes.
And he was just like, "What you doing with this? Like, you could get more." And she was just like, "I am happy here," right? Because if she left, who was
Mm-hmm.
opening up another store? Where would
Yeah.
everything? Annie was about community and how we were
And
all intertwined. Smoke was like, these are the very people and beings that almost destroyed me, you know, um,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or reminded him of that time. And he's just like, gotta get, gotta get away.
Which is something that connects later on in the juke when they're talking about the money that's
Yep,
coming in for that event. And he's just like, we're gonna be broke in 2 months. Like we're
yep,
gonna be out of actual money because these folks are coming and paying with plantation money.
yeah.
And plantation money only works on the plantation,
Right? Them little
right?
coins that that dude had.
Coins,
Where
yeah,
was
you know, the wooden coins or even the paper currency
Yeah,
was just on whatever plantation they were on. So he was just like, we're underwater.
that,
Yet Stack is like,
yeah,
these people.
yeah,
Stack at that moment was the reminder to him
yeah,
that these people
yeah. This was
are
their
damn near dying out there.
yeah, yeah,
We're giving them a few hours of
yep,
freedom,
of freedom. Yep, of
and they're
freedom.
going to come back to this. And maybe they'll come back with real currency at some point because the lights got to stay on, whatever. But he was all about giving his people a moment to reset, to release,
Yeah.
right? And it wasn't just about the money, but
So
Smoke is about.
we need to stay on that for a quick second
Okay.
because the slyness of Ryan Coogler, the money is different
Mm-hmm.
due to whichever plantation you are on. That is how they kept sharecroppers locked down.
Yep.
So I work
You're
a
free.
full day and I
Yeah.
get blue money,
That only
but
works
only works here.
here.
So I can't even save up money to get off this freaking hellhole.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, it is literally diabolical.
It is. It is.
The
It
way,
was, and it continues to be
and it
in different
continues to be,
ways.
because I guarantee you, there are some places in Mississippi that it is probably run the same
And
way.
mhm.
Because there's one thing about systemic racism, it follows the same playbook because evil cannot reproduce, it cannot make anything new.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
use the same playbook.
Yes. Say that. Now let's talk Mary. Mary. So
Um,
Mary is
an octoroon playing an octoroon.
the room
You better do that, Ryan Coogler. An octoroon.
for all white folks out there who who didn't even know that there was a thing called passing.
Ta-da!
Haley Steinfeld, the actress and the character she played
Uh-huh.
are what the term the room means.
Yep.
1/8 black can be traced, ancestry.com,
Oh,
can be traced back to that black grandfather
mm-hmm.
I really love that because when I first saw her, I was just like, oh God.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I was,
oh
you know
God.
what I thought? I was like, oh Lord, she gonna yell that he raped her. Cause that was the MO of like 98.999% of white women back then.
Yes.
I want to have fun, but oh my, and he raped me.
But yeah, by my husband, my brother, my
Yup,
daddy,
yup,
whoever it was. And there goes that brother's life,
yup.
right?
That's exactly what I thought. And then boy was I
Yep.
wrong when he
Thank
said,
God.
go to hell. And he said, well, you gonna be right there with me. I was like, damn, you talking to that white woman like that?
And how freely she was talking, like he was protecting Sammy. He was like, Sammy, go, because
Yeah,
you don't want to be around this, because
yup,
we're out in public with this
yeah,
white woman standing in my face,
yup. And
because
he's
she
not the
looked white. She
yup,
moves through the world as white unless she is with the very people she grew up with who know who and what she really is. So that's Annie, Stack, all of them, right?
yeah,
When she goes back to the town, they know her as Annie, as Mary,
as Mary.
right? They know she grew up with everybody, they know her story.
Mhm.
But out in that other world,
Which she did not want
she
to be
is
a
an
part of.
uppity white woman
Which she
with a
did not want
husband
to
in
be a part
Arkansas.
of. I mean, like, so
and
let
that's and that's the great part of this story that I don't think a lot of people touch on. Her life, her choice, and it also talks about the lack of choice
Mhm.
as a woman in that era, and which you mentioned earlier. She didn't have a choice.
No, not at all. Not at all.
She didn't have a choice,
Yeah.
because if she did, she would have stayed right where everybody else was and lived
Yup,
her life there amongst the people she grew up with,
yup,
right?
yup.
But her mama dies. She's already married to some white dude in Arkansas,
Yeah.
and she's living that life knowing that that is not even who she really is.
Yep. Yep.
But she's got to swallow it down, because by the grace of genetics, she can pass,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know? So her and Stack's relationship, the fact that their love affair, the life she would have wanted would have been her and Stack and a life together in a community
Yep.
that loves her, knows her, protects her, blah blah blah.
And I think that that's number reason when she got bit by the vampire, she beeline. She be like, "Where's Stack at? Where's Stack at?" Because you know what? We can't be together here, but by God, we can be together forever in
Now,
this other
now,
realm.
now, because
Yeah.
and that's also a great there are just a few things about Mary. The privilege she has of turning on whiteness, because she was protected in there, but it's like it's almost like the white woman stepped into play, and she was like, I can relate to them, and I can get whatever money that they've got, but let me at least do what I can to help y'all.
Yeah, because that's how I didn't see it as her being a white woman, but why did I just put that in quotations? I didn't see her, maybe because I mean like a Karen. I didn't see her
Right.
being as a
No,
Karen.
no, 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 she
I
was
I
not that.
I felt that she was being, this was her way
Hmm.
of
Yeah.
helping Dak.
Yes.
I love you.
Hmm.
Y'all trying to get money?
Yeah.
Money? Because maybe if you get that money, then maybe I could leave that redneck that I'm married to, and maybe we could finally be together, right?
Right. Right.
So that's how I'm seeing that.
Hmm.
But I agree, there are those levels to that, right? Because
Yes.
how she goes out there is 100% different than how a black person would
Hmm.
go out there.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
walked all the way to them where we would have been at the door, be like, y'all still out there?
We yelling from back here, but
Exactly.
that's what I mean, right? When I said she became what that world sees to be, and it's like she walked in those shoes,
Yeah, she didn't have her
literally.
guard up.
But she was just like, let me talk to them in a language that they
Yeah,
understand.
yeah, yeah,
I'm gonna
right,
go all the way out there, right?
right.
And I was just like, wow. It wasn't like you said, she didn't do it out of any form of malice or anything. She really did it because she's trying to help her people inside.
Yeah.
Get her man
Yup.
mainly, but
Yup.
getting
Yup.
him some of that money,
Yeah.
right?
But she did,
So
excuse me, she did not have her guard up. There was
absolutely not.
no
And by the time
innocent.
she did,
It was too late. I
it's
mean,
too late.
the fact that she spoke to them and it seemed kind of weird because she even said,
Hmm.
talk about. And then she turns around to go back up and her back is to him.
Yeah.
You don't know these people. But that's the difference between living as a black woman and living
Hmm.
as a white woman.
Yes.
Had she stayed in that town, she would have
Hmm.
remembered, oh, you don't turn your
Yeah.
back on them. Because there
Right.
would have been that distance between them. Like, I
Yes.
may look like I'm white, but I'm more like them than I am you.
Right.
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 But because
Right.
he's going in and out and not even doing a good job going in, because when you pass, you're not supposed to have any attachment to
No.
your life
No.
because so people don't call you out and be like, yo, what's up, Octoroon? And then she's like, wait, wait, wait.
Right.
But
Yeah, yeah.
and
No,
then she
I
got.
that was the thing. Her turning her back to these people and and thinking that that was a safe bet. That
Yeah,
they're not going to harm me. They can all see me over sis. And then her coming back in, she's just like, "Y'all know me.
yeah,
Why don't you just let me in?" And he was like, "Come on in,
yup,
Miss Mary,
yup.
because they know her."
They know
And she
her.
made a beeline to her boo.
Yup. She's like
Did
forever
all
and
she
ever,
needed.
forever, ever,
Amen.
forever,
Forever, forever. And then, and so Stacks,
ever.
future was sealed.
Yeah, yeah,
That whole spit scene, I need Ryan Coogler to just tell me why that was necessary. It was just gross. Did you have any commentary for that?
hmm. I just felt that it was just like an added layer, right?
Yeah, okay.
To differentiate that somebody's bitten, right? And they're
Yeah.
transitioning, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
mm, no.
So before we get into Remick, can we just quickly talk about the music?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Ryan said in all the interviews, anytime music was brought up, he was like, the music is its own character
Yeah.
in this film. And let me just say, God willing, I just need to see how he wrote that script. I need to see
Yeah.
how he wrote
Well,
the
I
script.
think it's safe to say that the script that is on the screen
Hmm.
is is not the first script that he
No,
wrote, right?
oh, I'm
So
sure.
I
Yeah.
think, well, you and I may know that, but a lot of people
Okay.
think that everything that they see on there, that he took
Is the first draft.
one draft and that is what is on there, right?
Yeah.
Because
I
I,
think it is that is the most rarest thing in film and
exactly,
TV production, that first draft is what they use to
from
film.
a film production, that is
Yes.
9 times out of 10, not it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, any draft he is willing to share, I would gladly
Yes.
read over and
Yes.
over and over again.
Yeah. The music in was it was spiritual in a way I did not expect, right? I'm a music person. That was my first love was music. And I know how transcending music can be. Watching this film and hearing the music, and not just the blues music, but the Irish music
hmm
had an effect on me
hmm
I did not expect at all. At all. Just the soulness of it.
Yeah.
When they sat there and sang that to Mary, I was like, y'all killing me right now. I know you're evil, but my God,
Isn't that the
this
piss poor
music.
little Robin Clean? Isn't that the one
No,
they were
because
playing?
that's when they first come to and try to come in.
Yeah, I thought that that was.
That's the first one. It's when Mary goes out while they're all sitting and they're singing
Oh yeah, that
that
little
song to
that
her.
yeah yeah
And I was like, I don't even know what the meaning of this is, but I felt it.
yeah
And I was surprised by how it moved me,
yeah.
right? Because I'm not listening to Irish music, right? Um, so it just moved me and I was surprised by that. And of course, later on, when Remmick is with his people and he's singing,
Oh my
is
God.
it the Rocky Road to Dublin? I
Yeah,
think that's the
that
name
was
of that. And then
that
and
was
he's doing the jig and the dance.
yeah
I was like, what is happening? I'm about to just sit here and
that was
ugly cry.
that was
This man was singing to the life. He was talking. That's how I saw it. I was like, oh my God, this is how he's trying to reach his people through the realms,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
But the music in here, and we all know that one scene that just in the juke that played. I My jaw was on the floor when I saw it for the first time.
What are you talking about?
The music in the juke when Sammy starts to sing and then you begin to see the realms open
Oh yeah yeah
and
yeah yeah.
you know like
Mhm.
the way they filmed, like I didn't anticipate that because I'm sitting there going it's 1932,
Mhm.
but for him to visually and auditorily l- take us on this adventure of how black music through from the motherland to here to wherever we are, our music connects us
Mhm.
beyond the realms.
Mhm.
Um, to see the sisters twerking and all, just it blew me away. And I know a lot of people were blown away by it. But what are your thoughts on music in the film? Your experience in watching this and hearing it?
I mean, I think I think that music is pivotal, and
Hmm.
I agree. The music in the movie really was its own character.
Hmm.
From so let me say this. I have been a fan of Delta blues for a long time. So like I was telling you, when I saw a still or something about the movie and it was Sammy holding the
Hmm.
guitar, and I
Hmm.
was telling you that I thought it was the blues man,
Yeah, yeah. The Robert
yeah,
Johnson.
Robert Johnson,
Yeah.
selling his soul to the devil
Hmm. Hmm.
or trading his soul to the devil in
Right.
order for him to be
Yeah.
able to play and do the very thing that he wanted to do.
Hmm.
So from that, from what I thought that it was, but it wasn't, I was interested in the movie because I
Hmm.
was
Hmm.
in it. Um, Irish African music, Irish African music, Irish dance, Irish African, Irish African. It is so intertwined
Hmm.
that people don't realize it. And I was so excited that now can we begin to have the conversation of how African enslaved Africans and the Irish were one and the same, that they were looked down upon more so than a dog. It was no dogs, no Irish, no blacks, right?
Same oppressors. We had the same
Same
oppressors.
oppressors.
Hmm.
We had the same oppressors
Hmm.
until the powers that be got this idea. Why don't we make those Po Buckras the overseers? We'll toss them a crumb or two, but they'll be over the blacks and they jump to it. And I feel that that was the power in the music. That was, especially the Irish music, that was the power where Remmick, they were in that circle and he
Yeah.
was dancing as if his life, and this man has been alive forever. But he thought that if he danced harder and harder and harder and harder, he could break free and
Hmm.
everybody would be together because that's
Yeah.
what he wanted. He just wanted everybody together. And I know we're not talking about Remick, but I
No,
think
go right
that
in. Go right in.
Remick hated white supremacy just as much when he saw that hood.
Hmm.
That was all she wrote.
Yeah. It went from, please let me in,
Yeah,
save me, to like, oh no, you gonna let me in.
you gonna let me in.
I'm just
And
gonna turn you because you don't
and the
know
fact that
what.
their their ignorance, because it's not
Hmm.
necessarily hatred, right?
Yes.
People are freaking ignorant and filled with fear because they don't know anything. He said the traditional name of the freaking Choctaw and they didn't even realize it. That's how much respect he had for the freaking Choctaw
The very people that are coming
that are
after
coming
him
for him.
to kill him, he had more respect for them. And he knew the fools that just opened this door.
Exactly.
He was not dealing with full deck people. He knew he was dealing with bottom of the barrel. I'm supreme because I was born this skin color. And that's literally like that's how they move in this world. Like that's it.
Yeah. But it's
It
it's it's an ignorance, right?
yes.
It's a
Yes.
fear, it's an ignorance. And he just wanted everybody to be together because in
Hmm.
this realm where he was,
Stuck.
everybody was the same. Everybody
Yeah.
was together. It didn't matter what color.
Hmm.
Like, and he's like sitting there pleading, like, don't you see? Like, this is the only way.
Yeah.
And I think for me, because Remick is capitalism, right?
Hmm.
To me,
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
metaphor for capitalism. But Jack played that part. Is his name Jack?
Jack, yeah, Jack O'Connell, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He played Remick with such grace.
Hmm.
Because I think you and I talked about this before. You can't have just an evil character. There has to be redeeming qualities
Hmm.
that make them move the way that they can't just be like, oh, I'm mean and oh, I want to take over the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
That's a one-dimensional character.
Yeah. It's like what
Yeah.
is driving him and everything. Just like Chadwick said, find the love.
Hmm.
He loved people.
Hmm.
Like he really did. He loved everybody. But this thing grabbed him.
Hmm.
So he's just like, all right, well, here we are. Let me see if I can get more people because if we're here, it doesn't matter if you're
Yeah.
black or Asian or, whatever. We're all together,
Hmm.
I
I
mean,
feel like that's definitely what he was trying to sell to the black folks, right? Because he comes from a history of being oppressed. He's lived a life of being bottom of the barrel,
he's Irish.
being treated as if
I mean,
you are nothing. You offer nothing. Your whole existence is to be under somebody's foot.
that's how the English thought
Ex-
that the Irish
exactly.
were. I mean,
Yes.
like,
Yes.
let's be
And
honest.
I'm yes. And it's sad to see how American Irish have disconnected from their brethren in Ireland because I feel like a lot of the Irish over there know that history, have never forgotten it.
Because I think it's different when you live it, right? You know, whiteness didn't come into play until what was it? 1600s?
16, yeah.
There was
Yeah.
never nothing of white. You were either English or Irish or
French,
French.
German, right.
And
That was who you were. But
right.
at some point, they got together and was just like, so now there's these whole other people over there, and they don't look nothing like us.
No, so what happened is I think
I
that
mean,
the landowners,
mhm.
because you had the Irish people commingling with the Africans and First Nation, they were all getting along. They were building community. They were doing their thing.
This is me talking about the congregation that happened when they decided to go into the motherland and take over because they saw these people as less than,
Oh,
and
right.
they use and that creation of race happens,
Well, that
right?
creation of race happened in like the 1600s. Like I was
Yes.
saying,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you had Irish over here and they were lower than low. They were as
Mhm. Yes, they were the
desolate
same.
as Africans, right? And
Yeah.
as First Nation people. And
They
when
might
you
not have been called slaves, they were indentured servants,
indentured
but either
servants, but
way,
they were they were
you were
slaves.
enslaved.
But the thing is, when you have people commingling
Yeah.
and it's more of them than the
Yes.
landowners,
Hmm.
that's when they started getting scared. And then that's when they said, hey, what can we do? Oh, we need an overseer. Let's get the poor Irish and
Hmm.
put them on as the overseer. Give them a
A
crumb
smidge more
that they could,
status.
yeah, that they
Yeah.
could eat, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Because some
Yep.
of them were still eating dirt and they fell for the okey doke. And they
Hmm.
still fall for the okey doke. When we are literally, it is the same. It is everybody versus the 1%. Like
Hmm.
what that movie is about. And it's like
Yeah.
is in it. And he wants just, yo, can't we all just get along? But even in that, he's still eating up people,
Yes.
right?
He's still taking lives.
He's
I
still
saw it. I
destroying
saw it.
lives.
I saw him as someone because he is alone here. He has to create his own people. That's why he was I feel like he was very open to bring in everybody because of his history of being oppressed, and he's like, that's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm just trying to build community.
Yeah, like
I'm trying to
in
build
a
our
bizarre,
own community
right, in a bizarre
yeah.
way, he was
Yeah.
literally trying, it's the wrong way.
Right.
I
That's how
think
I
that,
saw it. I really saw
yeah,
him as that's what he was doing.
yeah, but it's like Thanos, right? You have these
Hmm.
villains that they're villains.
Yes.
In a villain, where is the love coming from? And the love
Yeah.
is that he didn't want anybody to be alone. He wanted everybody. Y'all out here being black, they coming for you. But if you
Yes.
come over here, nothing can happen to you now.
Lesser two evils, right?
Which one you want,
Right?
right?
Which one do you exactly? Because, like you said earlier, when Mary was turned, she came for Stack because now they are powerful.
Yep. They
That ish
together.
happening out there where they telling them that they could never be together,
Yep.
they're like, we gonna make it happen.
But
We're going to make it happen now
for the
because
rest of my
we
life,
have power.
yep. Yep.
We have the power to move through this world in a way where we can just eat, y'all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like say something, just say something,
Yeah.
and
And
I can cut you.
I think that Stack was happy too because he loved
Yeah,
Mary.
he
You
did.
know what I
He
mean?
did.
Like at no point did he say, kill me, kill me, kill me.
Yeah. But honestly, I can't say for certain that if he had a choice between Mary and his brother, he would not like he would choose her over Smoke. I I really believe that his ideal would have been for him and Smoke. That's why he was just like, come, 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 come. But he also like Stack had wanted both ways. He wanted his brother because that's his twin. He
That's his
came into
twin.
this world with this
Yeah.
man, and he also wants the woman that he loves, right?
Yeah.
And I remember seeing how Stack looked at Smoke when Smoke killed Annie.
Yeah. Yeah. He,
Because in his mind, all four of us could be
yup,
ruling this world,
yup,
right?
yup.
We could be
He
together
wouldn't have to worry
forever
about money for nothing.
and powerful. That's the thing. It was the power,
Yeah.
right? Because you were not just human anymore.
Yeah.
You had power to kill everybody out there.
Yeah.
And I think in his mind that would have been perfection. So when he sees him kill Annie, he's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's not
But
like we could have had a whole different. And
yeah,
then
but the
I
thing,
knew then he knew
it
that
was a
his
done
brother was
deal.
not going to walk with him.
Yeah, it's a done deal. He's
Yeah.
not coming. But had Annie not told him beforehand, you gotta promise me, you gotta promise me, he wouldn't have done it. He wouldn't have done
No,
it,
no,
and it would have
no.
been four of them. But because
Yes.
Annie knows different realms, she's like, okay, I ain't never see this before, but I know that I don't belong there because I got somebody in another realm waiting for me.
Waiting for
And
me
so
and
do you.
waiting for you too. Ciao.
So do you.
Ciao. Ciao. Yeah.
And and
Yeah.
and that's the difference between the two relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
You all thought that Stack was the power hungry, right? We got it, money, money,
Yes.
money. I mean, you all thought
Smoke.
that Smoke was the power
Yeah.
hungry. We got
Yeah.
to get money. Stack and Mary, because now,
Wanted the
I mean,
power.
because what he come in? He came in with a Koji sweater. Come on, Notorious B.I.G. and a
Yeah. Over his
Tupac
lady.
and a Tupac Gumby
High
from
top
Juice.
fade.
It,
Ciao.
and you
Ciao.
cannot tell me that that was not intentional because as
Yes.
soon as he walked through there, I was like, he Tupac up top, Biggie in the middle,
Yes.
and
92.
his octoroon on his arm. I said, "Go ahead, brother. You
With
living
her
the dream,
lollipop nails
what,
done, high waist jeans. It
right?"
was a time. It was a time to be alive, right? But that's the thing. I still felt there was still sadness in Stack.
Oh, 100%.
Even, you know what I mean? Because he's still moving in this world,
Yes.
not fully alive
Yep. Yep.
without his brother.
Without his brother and no connection because everybody was dying.
Yeah.
Everybody was dead. Sammy
Was
dying
the last.
old,
Yep.
right? Sammy's the last one.
Yeah. And Sammy
And
was just like, I'm good.
yep,
Leave me. I'm
I'm
good.
ready to leave this
I'm
place.
ready. And they were just kind of looking at him like it's to me that like I could see the vampire side in them looking at him like, that's stupid, right? You could have everlasting life.
Mm-hmm.
But he was just like, that's not happiness.
Yeah. Like, where y'all
Look
been?
at Remmick,
Like, don't y'all see what's
the
going
very
on out
person,
there?
it's like the very person that brought this to everybody.
Yep.
Was he ain't even here no more. Six, however many hundred years he lived. Like it's going to eventually you will go, but
Yeah.
he was so unhappy. Remick was not a happy man.
No. Well, number one, Remmick wasn't a man, but I think, yeah,
Right.
I get it. Because even in that solitary life of a vampire,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No sunlight.
no, it is very solitary, right?
Yeah.
The sun represents life.
Mm-hmm.
So you come out when life goes in.
When life is
Okay.
like, ooh, I'm glad I'm
Yeah.
tired. Let me rest now because I'm
Yeah.
gonna get
Yeah.
back
And
up
you just
tomorrow,
like, okay,
hopefully.
now it's time to play. Huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, one of the things that I was like thinking about was Cornbread's wife. She pregnant. He ain't come home with no money. He ain't have to go all the way in the woods to go pee pee or even do a dookie.
He'll never know what it would have been like for his woman to give him pleasure in other ways because he brought home the bacon. He'll never know. Cornbread was just like that's one of the great things about this. These two brothers come into town and they just bring
They
everybody in.
they turned the apple cart over.
Over. Everybody coming. Now I don't know who's gonna make it out.
Yeah. Smoke
Everybody's
and
coming.
Stack are urban legends in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Shout out like Mississippi, shout out Miles Canton.
That voice. That
I read
voice.
that her was actually the one that told him to go audition.
Yeah.
He's just he's just phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the things that like Delroy was saying, like just the opportunity to be in the Coogler verse, right?
Mm,
And to be a part of the collaboration.
yeah.
I heard so many people say the word collaboration, and you could tell that they really meant it because a lot of people in the industry talk about, oh yeah, he's an amazing director. It's a collaboration all around. And you could tell because it's like, oh yeah, he's a great director. It was very collaboration all around. And you know that they're not telling the truth, but you could feel.
Yeah.
Um,
And Delroy been around a long time, so he
Delroy
knows
ain't gonna
he
lie to
knows
nobody.
no. He has had many experiences. And knowing that, and he can definitely speak to working on projects where not every director wants to hear what the actor thinks
Yup.
about anything.
Yep.
What and he even and in one interview I heard him say there are directors out there that don't even care about the process, the actor's process. Don't care. They just want you to come on set, read the lines, follow their direction, and do your job. Because, and to me, these are not directors that are artistic
No.
to me, because you have acting is an art form, and if you're not giving
It,
it the respect it needs,
yeah. Yeah.
the at least the space these actors need, so like when we were talking um on another podcast or that we have, when we were talking to an actress that you and I work with, and she was saying that sometimes she creates the backstory
Yeah.
so she can better understand the character and get into the character, right?
Right. Right.
And Delroy, he spoke truth when he said, he's been on sets where some of these directors, it was like just say the lines.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He had they didn't even respect him enough to even ask him questions about what does he think. They were just like, we don't care what you think. You're here, you're getting paid to do this job, just do it. And
Yeah.
so that's just some sets.
Yeah. I can't even imagine that you would belittle the actor's process and the art form
Oh,
of
yeah, I can imagine it in what Hollywood has
yeah.
become.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can absolutely see it
Yeah.
because a lot of these people who are, who say that they're directors,
Yeah.
it's like, are you? Do you even really know what that means? What that work is, or is it just like that's a cool
Status.
thing?
It's a
Yeah,
status symbol,
it's a
right?
it's a
Yeah.
status symbol. So, but anyway, thank you, Nettie B. I'm glad we got to
Oh wow, we're done.
dive in.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think so.
Okay.
I think we're well over an hour.
Oh.
Uh, but this is Sinners. This is what this movie
Yeah.
does.
Because I
I
think
have
like
read a trillion and one commentary, watched a bunch of videos, and I'm still just like, oh
I
yes,
mean, like also the fact that he has Saul Williams playing the preacher. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so there's so much symbolism
Yeah.
in this movie.
Truly intentional. Like
Right.
I, to see someone, a writer, director, producer,
Well,
be
Tyler
so
Perry.
intentional and be so intentional in who he casts, the way he writes these characters, how he wants to see it on screen. And I praise him for getting a deal that truly allowed him to take this original story and make it the way he wanted to make it, because I don't know, it's probably like 1% of all directors who have ever really been able to do that.
Yeah, but like it's been done before. He's not the
Hmm.
first person. Let's,
Nope.
because everybody was freaking out like he's destroying
He's going to change the studio.
Hollywood. Like, okay.
You know who wrote that? People who probably don't even know anything about Hollywood or studio.
Where it was like
Honestly,
a paid,
yeah,
no,
clickbait. That's all
yeah,
it was,
yeah,
clickbait. Because anytime you can put out there that some black person is doing something that may have a negative impact on an industry, they're just like, run with it.
yeah,
It may be fake news, but run with it
run
because
with it.
we'll get clicks, and it's all,
Yeah,
it's all about selling. So,
yeah. But this was
anyway,
amazing.
yeah. Thank
This,
you all for
mhm.
joining us on this very special episode
Yes.
of That's a Wrap. All right, Nettie, any final words?
Um, don't walk, run, go see it. Even if you already saw it once, go see it a second, third time. And purchase the soundtrack.
Already got that. Already got that. And one quick thing I wanted to say was, it was in my second viewing that I realized that they actually had names. Smoke's real name was Elijah,
Yeah,
and Stack's real name is Elias.
yeah, yeah.
Missed it completely the
Yep,
first go around.
yep,
Heard it the second time, and that's why I believe many people are going to see it multiple times,
yep.
is because in the frenzy of this film,
You missed
you
it.
miss stuff
You missed stuff. Yep.
and you got to go back and see it. But I think a lot of people are just going back so they can re-experience,
Yeah.
relive the wonderfulness of Sinners. So thank you all for joining us, and that's a wrap.
Be great.